back to my channel. I'm Bianca. I'm a chef, I'm a podcast host, I'm a television host, but most importantly, I'm the person that is going to help you have a happy period and thus a happy life. I mean, I think anyway. So today we're going to be talking about blood sugar. Blood sugar is so important. It is being implicated in infertility these days, and it's something that we as menstruators have to be mindful of because consistent blood sugar spikes throughout the phases of our cycle means that we are dysregulating our hormones, and that means that we're going to have painful periods, heavy periods, missing periods, and ovulatory cycles. I mean, it runs the gamut. And so as someone who has diabetes that runs riot in my family, on my mom's side of the family for sure, it's something that I've always thought about but didn't really know how to manage. I was kind of like, okay, well, I always just have to be watching my sugars. And as I've gotten older, I've sort of noticed the implications of having blood sugar spikes. And since doing the work to reduce those blood sugar spikes, I've noticed like my periods come with not even a whimper. They are completely, they're exactly like textbook. And the last little bit of period pain I had that would maybe be on like the first or second day all went away when I started to work on blood sugar balance. So that's what we're going to talk about today, because whether you have diabetes in your family, whether you've been told to look out for your blood sugars, or whether you think that you're just coasting along completely blood sugar balanced, there's some things that we can do and some ways that we can eat that can help us have blood sugar balance consistently and therefore better periods. So the first thing is apple cider vinegar. So apple cider vinegar. I love apple cider vinegar. I think it makes a delicious dressing. But what is great about vinegar, any vinegar, because it has acetic acid, is what acetic acid does is it opens up the ability for our body to use up glucose that is like spinning around in our blood from the food that we've eaten. And so what I like to do before I have anything that has a carb in it, I like to drink 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in just like a cup of water, maybe like 3 to 5 minutes before I'm about to consume this like carb laden, or even just like carbs are in the mix of the meal. And what I've noticed since doing that is, one, I don't overeat because I know that I'm not thirsty because I drank something before, and that has nothing to do with blood sugar, but that's just like a hot tip. But also I notice that I don't get sleepy after carb heavy meals. I don't feel sluggish. And sometimes if I eat too many carbs, I kind of get a headache later. I don't get that either. And so it's the acetic acid. So any vinegar will work. You can use white vinegar, apple cider vinegar, sherry, champagne. I find apple cider tastes the best in water. That's like my preference. You can also make a dressing. And so the next tip is to order your foods in a way that helps with blood sugar balance. So the first food that we should all be starting our meals with is a salad, because the vegetables and the fiber in the vegetables helps the body to balance blood sugar as it's digested. So if you eat vegetables first, and then you eat protein and fat, and then you eat your carbs at the end of the meal, all of the protein, fat, fiber in there is going to make it so that the glucose is released slower into your bloodstream and you don't get blood sugar spikes. So back on the apple cider vinegar again. So you don't always have to do the vinegar drink. I like to do it just because it's also got probiotics. It's good for my gut health, which is also great for our period. More on that later. But I like to drink the apple cider vinegar drink like before I'm having like a carb heavy or just like a meal that has like carbs in the mix and I'm not eating in a certain order. But also what I like to do is I like to make salad dressings that I put on my salad that I eat first with apple cider vinegar, because then I'm getting the dual benefit of the fiber from the vegetables and then also the acetic acid and the glucose response from the vinegar. So it's like twofold. Now the next thing that you want to eat in that order, so you go vegetables or like salad with apple cider vinaigrette, and then you want to have like your proteins and your fats. There are some instances for me where I have just like protein, fat, and then I hit the carbs because I like maybe wasn't having a salad at that moment. But regardless, the carbs should always be at the very last part of the meal, or your dessert should be at the end of a meal. I mean, it's logical that salads are first, the entree is second, and dessert is third. It's like whoever created like mealtime, traditions or norms kind of like knew this about blood sugar, but We can't ask him or her, so we'll never know. But having your salad with apple cider vinaigrette first, and then your protein and your carbs next, and then your dessert or your dessert next, or dessert or carbs. I'm getting confused, but you know what I'm trying to say. And I found that this has like had such an impact on how I feel after I eat. So I don't get that like 3 p.m. slump. I don't feel hungry for more. That was another thing too. And I find that I'm just like making more sensible choices because I'm not as hungry and I'm not craving things, because that sugar craving has gone down because I've managed the blood sugar. So the next thing I want to talk about is blood sugar at night. So when I was doing all the work to, resolve some of my hormonal issues, optimize my thyroid, one of the things that was happening was I was always waking up in the middle of the night at like around 3 a.m. And that's a thyroid thing, but it also can be a blood sugar thing. And so when I resolved my thyroid and I was still having these like 3 a.m. wake ups, I initially was like, okay, maybe I'm just drinking a lot of water. Maybe I'm drinking too many liquids before bed, but it was still happening. And what ended up being is that my body would get low blood sugar around that time of the night every night. And what happens is I go into a really light form of sleep because it kind of wakes you up out of your sleep. And then it's like, well, I guess you have to pee, so you might as well get up to go pee. Because when you're light sleep, all of those signals to like get up and go to the bathroom start firing again. When you're in deep sleep, they don't even hit. You're just like sleeping. And so what I had to start doing was stop any intermittent fasting of any kind, which I did. I did it briefly, just wasn't for me for obvious reasons because I have blood sugar things I need to work on. But what I also started doing was having a protein, fiber, fat snack before bed. And what this does is it keeps my blood sugar stable through the night so that I wake up at around like 6:30 and I'm well rested and I didn't have that interrupted sleep because my blood sugar was flagging. So if you go back and check out my video for coconut pistachio fat bombs, those are one of the things that I eat right before bed that helps keep my blood sugar balanced. Sometimes I'll make just like yogurt, berries, a little bit of like nut crumble on top. It can't be coconut yogurt because there's no protein in that, but you can mix in protein powder if that's your vibe. But it has to have protein, fat, and fiber. All of those things are going to help keep your blood sugar and my blood sugar stable throughout the night. And the last thing I want to talk about is something called resistant starch. So things like sweet potato and banana, which I hate, but a lot of you guys like, so I'm going to talk about, when you eat them, they spike your blood sugar in that iteration. So bananas, if you eat a banana that's ripe, it's going to spike your blood sugar. But if you eat a banana that's unripe, it's not, because it has something called resistant starch. In that banana, when it's young and youthful and hard, that resistant starch is very strong. So even though an older banana or one that is more ripe is going to spike your blood sugar, that young banana won't, because it has that starch that cannot be digested by the body. So what it is that starch kind of acts fibery in a way and helps to balance the blood sugar as that food is moving through you. Resistant starch. It also happens with sweet potatoes. So when you cook a sweet potato and you eat it hot, it will spike your blood sugar or it'll give you a blood sugar raise. But if you cook and then cool that sweet potato before you eat it, the resistant starch becomes present again and it doesn't spike your blood sugar very much at all. And so that's something to consider. I don't eat a lot of gluten, because it just doesn't agree with me very well. But I do eat a lot of sweet potato. And I was noticing that even though I was eating sweet potato, that I was still getting some of like the blood sugar reactions when I was eating it. And so I go about it 2 ways. If I want a hot sweet potato, I'll have apple cider vinaigrette salad before I eat it, or I'll make my apple cider drink. If I want to have it cold, then I'll just eat it cold. It's fine. I'll pair it with whatever cold, but the resistant starch helps to mitigate the spike. So if you find that you're a person who has really painful periods, you get that empty stomach feeling, you get hangry, you wake in the middle of the night and you've been tested and it's not your thyroid, it might be your blood sugar, baby. And so there's things that you can do. You can do the apple cider vinegar drink before meals, or vinaigrette with vegetables to get that acetic acid benefit on your glucose levels. You can order your food differently. So you eat your salad first, your protein and your fat second, and then you bookend it with your dessert and your starches to make sure that your blood sugar is balanced. Resistant starch, cooling your sweet potato before you eat it, or eating a green banana versus a ripe banana. And lastly, check your blood sugar before bed. Make sure that, your wake ups aren't because of your blood sugar, making you feel like you have to pee. So eat something before you go to bed. Coconut pistachio fat bombs are an excellent choice, and you can get that on my page. So I'm Bianca. I love talking to you about periods and blood sugar and all these fun, fancy things that have helped make my life so shiny and glowed up, because when you have a happy period, you honestly have a happy month. When you have a happy month, you have a happy life, and that's what I'm here to help you do. So I'll see you next time.